been following along in the chat. Tobin and I were getting caught up. So it's been kind of a chaotic last minute moments leading up to this live stream. We were, Brett and I were at a big like family birthday celebration, a lot of birthdays to celebrate at Benihana's. And that takes a special amount of type A energy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's overwhelming. I don't know if it's the sodium or the noise level, but I have to kind of transmute it into the live stream. Yeah.
Transmute. That is a good word.
Oh, yeah. So
it's good to see you there, Jill. Welcome back from your great excursion of culinary delights.
Thank you. Yeah. Have you been to Benihana? You know the whole shtick?
I've never done any. That's where they have like the blooming onion and the hats and the fire and no. I've never been.
It's an interactive eating experience, and what I really appreciated, I don't want to ruin it for anyone, but what I really appreciate about tonight's chef, because different chef, different personality, and they have their whole little routine they do.
Yes.
This guy kind of rolled in. He's like, "You've been here before." He's like, "Okay, let's get down to business." So he did a few signature things, and then it was all about the food. Because I'm always like, oh, okay. So I was like, I just want to eat. So
it looked like you had front row seating too. So could you feel like the scorching heat coming off the grill? And
what I like to do, I try to always sit at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's my escape route if needed. But no, I'm always by the little tray of food. So I'm always kind of like looking at it and trying to like
right.
Can I eat some? I don't know. But yeah, so I'm bummed. We totally thought that we were going to be able to do our live stream last week while we were in Canada, but we were up in the middle of nowhere. So
here I sat with my little Walmart pad and pen, just waiting to dig in to the legend that is Sasquatch with you, Jill, and you left me hanging. That's okay, because I had a glass of wine and I went to bed, and it was probably for the best.
Good.
I'm glad you had fun. Tell me what happened in Canada.
Okay, so Canada. Not everything that happens in our world is a flash of beauty related, although it should be.
Yeah, it should be.
So Brett and I are also working on another documentary. I don't know if I've talked about it much. Basically, this is a documentary about, it's called Taming the Mouth, and it's about the Columbia River, the mouth of the Columbia River specifically, and the role of the jetties, the North and South jetty, and how it basically makes safe passage. And a lot of people don't realize. I can't read your face.
I'm going with it. Go ahead.
No, so for those of you who aren't from the Pacific Northwest, the Columbia River separates Oregon and Washington, and it is known as the graveyard of the Pacific. It's one of the most dangerous bars to cross. And so we're doing a whole documentary on the history, the role the jetties play, the environmental aspect and everything. So what we decided to do, it wasn't just enough for us to be going out to Fort Stevens and Astoria to do filming at the mouth. Brett and I are like, we need to go to the source. So we went to Columbia Lake in extreme southeast British Columbia, where the Columbia River starts. Where the headwaters are. Yeah, it was really cool. I can check that one off my list. But so that was why we were up there, and it just so happened it coordinated with this screening we did in Castlegar, BC, which was absolutely amazing. So Castlegar is in the Kootenays, and I guess there's a lot of Sasquatch activity, a lot of sightings, a lot of stories, a lot of encounters, and the day before, I was talking to Tim, our contact who organized it, And I was like, "Well, what are ticket sales looking like?" And he's like, "Well, we've sold maybe 40 tickets of pre-sales, but it's a small town. People just kind of show up last minute." And I was like, "You know what? I don't care how many people show up. We'll be able to interact and really engage with the audience. So I'm all about a small audience." Theater packed out. It was like it was awesome. Like everyone had a story, everyone had an encounter, everyone was hungry for more stories. So it was a total success. We did a double feature. We
Yeah.
did Bigfoot revealed, then paranormal Bigfoot. So
The theater looked totally packed. I only saw a couple photos, but it must be a pretty small town. I looked at some Google images of the Kootenai area. Say that three times fast. It looked like a whole lot of fun. Consequently, the Kootenais is home to new citizens, and Bigfoot are friends of ours. Recently married and transcontinental now, Susan Bland and Brian Bland. Susan Bland, once of Cottage Grove, now
hmm,
lives in the Kootenai and is a Canadian citizen as well as an American citizen, along with her new husband, Brian Bland, who has also been in and around the Cottage Grove area as a Bigfooter. So it must
very
be
nice.
squatchy because those guys love squatching. So you're in the perfect area. I don't know if they showed up at the premiere or not. They probably would have liked to, but did you now that's not too far from the Oregon border, like, that's within I'm sorry, the Washington border, that's right there on the line, right?
So Castlegar is about an hour. It was an hour northwest, maybe an hour and a half northwest of Medellin Falls.
Okay.
Just to give you an idea of where we were. Um, so it was close to extreme northeast Washington. Um, but let me think. Worth mentioning also. I don't have my notes written out, so I'm just kind of shooting from the hip here. Uh, we also stayed in Harrison Hot Springs, which is
Oh, that's a hot spot.
yeah, that's a place. And it's so funny is because after I posted about it on Facebook, I got a message from Randy Brisson who
Oh,
was like, "Oh, my wife and I just left. We were just there," and I was like, I know they're here. I know they're here." So we had just missed them. That was cool. They're actually having a big Sasquatch days this
right.
weekend.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, really?
yeah. So we mistimed that one.
Now, it sounds like, there's a little bit of, celebrity status on your end. Do you wanna talk about that? Did you sign any autographs while you're in the Kootenays? Did you say you got noticed?
Oh, I was like, we sold a lot of T-shirts. T-shirt sales were up in Canada.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, actually, this was kind of funny. So we swung by, like on our commute, we stopped in a Costco in Kamloops, and we're just grabbing random stuff. And I'm wearing my "A Flash of Beauty" Bigfoot revealed shirt,
Oh, there's a giveaway.
and someone stopped me and they said, Where'd you get that shirt?" I was like, "This one?" I'm like, "Are you familiar with this?" He's like, "Well, yeah, I interviewed the director. I've talked to
Oh,
the filmmakers, for my podcast."
oh,
And I was
gotcha.
like, "I'm a filmmaker." And he's like, "Oh, Jill, you're Jill." And I was like, "Yes, I am." So it was our friend Sheldon who has the Nicola Valley Bigfoot podcast out of
Okay.
Merritt, British Columbia. So, and he's putting on a conference in August. I don't know the exact dates, but I can get that posted on the Flash of Beauty Facebook page. But yeah, he totally recognized the shirt. So I called Brett over and we were hanging out in Costco catching up. So that was fun.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, it's people have seen this film and they do recognize people from it. I know TJ Ravenwolf has mentioned that he's been spotted a couple times in and around Vancouver or wherever. I think there's been on one occasion out here in Port Angeles. Um, so it's shocking because of the fact that, generally Bigfoot films like that don't do that, or Bigfoot docs. Maybe like TV shows have that kind of staying power, but this is the kind of documentary that people said that they've seen more than 2 times, which I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I've there's only like 3 documentaries I've seen on multiple occasions. I don't need to go through them, but I will mention one of my favorite documentaries, which is about 2 losers in Wisconsin called American Movie. They're trying to make a movie
Yes.
called Coven. Okay,
Yeah.
so that one I've seen on multiple occasions. That's the
Sure.
only documentary I've probably seen like 7 times. But this is not filled with losers, and we're not making a show called Coven. We're making a show called A Flash of Beauty, part 1 and 2, and maybe 3. I don't know if we can talk about that yet, but down the road it could happen.
Yeah, let's we'll put a pin in that because we have so much on the plate right now.
Mhm,
My brain can't handle that, but
mhm.
there's been some delay on that and now it's
You're workshopping it a
manifesting
little
again.
bit, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's slowly coming together. Brett's been shifting gears, just focusing on Ron Moorhead's documentary about Sierra Camp and what went on up there. Is editing all day, so more on
Yeah.
that. Perhaps there'll be a post coming up on that. Yeah, so we have had a couple new videos posted.
Nice. Yes, we have, and I'm all about both of them. One of them, I'm more familiar with than the other. Um, I thought you interviewed John Hamm on the second interview. I quickly looked at it and I was just like, they snagged John Hamm and he's a Bigfooter. Um, so if
Duh.
you haven't seen this latest interview, I've only seen half of it, but I digress. Let's talk about both these interviews, and maybe we'll start in Cresswell, Oregon.
Yeah, so look, I blame Daryl Adams. When we did that final interview before he moved back to Oklahoma, Daryl said, "Yeah, I'm really gonna miss the fudge." And we're like, what do you mean? Like, fudge. He's like, Bigfoot fudge. I'm like, what?
I'm glad he
And so,
clarified. Yeah.
and then he's like, yeah, don't you know Johnny down at Bigfoot Fudge Factory? I'm like, you can't make this up. And so he's like, yeah, just go down this street, that street, and stuff. So we roll in, and we're just like, bought copious amounts of fudge, as one does.
Right.
And so
Logs. I think they call them logs of fudge, but go ahead.
they come in little squares.
Okay,
Um,
squares.
but every time we go through Cottage Grove or Crestwell, we stop. We stop in and load up on fudge. And so finally, Brett's like, we got to do a video on Johnny. It's like he's keeping us, our spirits up, our sugar level engaged and stuff. So that's exactly what we did.
And he held through the pandemic. Like, there was no shutting Johnny Saldana down. He, in fact, I think his little store grew during the pandemic, if not shortly after it. And it's a family affair. It's not just him. Like the mother comes up from Texas or flies out from, I believe, Texas, right?
Sometimes, yeah, she's down in Austin, and that's where he's from. And sometimes
Oh,
she'll come out to help out. There have been times where we've swung by, and Johnny's like he's out of town doing stuff, and his mom's in the shop.
right.
And she's kind of like, well,
Hmm.
I'm here now, so this is what we're doing, and and everything. But no, it's crazy because usually when we get there, they're sold at like it's slim pickings because people, it's like end of the day, and so we're
Right.
getting kind of like what's been left. But when we went in today, he was fully stocked on everything, and he had a lot of new flavors. And I know, what? He actually sent me a text message today. He's like, I just shipped an order out to Pennsylvania. And I
Oh, really?
asked that. He's like, I asked him, I'm like, how'd you hear about me? I usually, like to email people and confirm, but I didn't have any contact info. It's like, oh, I was watching these Bigfoot videos on YouTube, and then yours popped up, and the way you described the Mexican hot chocolate or the dark chocolate totally reminded me, of what he knew. So
Yeah, I'm trying to get the location here so we can mention it. It is at 25 North First Street, Suite 2. So you just take one of the little side streets there. It's on the corner. You kind of walk into a little bit of a alcove situation,
Yeah.
and there's Johnny's shop, Bigfoot Fudge. Hang out for a little bit. Little known fact: one of the first Sasquatch reports I ever took and followed up on was in Cresswell, Oregon. Native American in a sociology class at the Lane Community College in Eugene, Oregon. And that is where I took a report from a Native American who had, I believe she'd gone to see her uncle near Bigfoot Fudge. And there was a Sasquatch waiting for her at the fence as she was on her way up a private road, maybe less than 2 miles away from Bigfoot Fudge. So stick around if you can order by mail and Johnny's okay with that. Order
Hmm.
yourself some Bigfoot Fudge. And heck, that might be a good sponsor. I never really thought about approaching Johnny Saldana and Bigfoot Fudge, but maybe doing some sponsorships here for a podcast, it sounds like.
You know what? He's going to be in Oak Ridge at
Oh, he is?
Sasquatch Summerfest. So
We're going to hit
there
him up.
will we'll make a fudge alliance.
I wonder if I never really thought of this, and I don't think any of us have, but man, that would have been the perfect gift to leave out, along with the copious amounts of painted peanut butter and apples that were left around there. We should have left some of Johnny's Bigfoot fudge. How cool would that be?
He shows up for work and like the whole kitchen's trashed. Like, oh my gosh, what?
Or he just has this giant quartz crystal set right on top of his blender.
Hey,
Yeah.
and you know what's so funny is because Cresswell, before that, the only connection we had is again Daryl Adams. He's
Mm,
like the epicenter of everything.
mm,
That one time we were in the woods in the very beginning, he's like, "Oh yeah, you need to talk to Tara Harris." And
mm.
we're like, "Who's Tara?" Well, she's the psychic. He's like, "You gotta call her." And we're like, "Okay." And we met her just like around the corner from where Johnny is at the park at
You need
night.
some like 1940s film noir music playing when you tell this story. Meet her in the alley. She's a psychic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Here's the
Yeah.
crystal foot he gave me." So
Out walked Tara with a dip in her mouth. She told me something like she couldn't possibly know. She had a quartz crystal in her hand.
Tara's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to having her on the follow-up podcast. So
Oh
so yeah.
yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah, so we'll circle back to that. So let's see here. So yeah, Johnny's and I think it's good also to show a little variety because not everyone in the Bigfoot community is like a hardcore, like in the forest, researching, experiencing crazy stuff. It just go I think Johnny's interview just goes to show that the reach is far and diverse in the world of Bigfoot and how it influenced him in Fudge and all the joy it's bringing people. It's a good thing.
It is. Well, oftentimes, it's an easy reach for a lot of people because Bigfoot is now he's kind of a commercial success in the way that like the Have a Nice Day. I think of like Forrest Gump, the movie, right, where all these iconic images were kind of born out of his happenstance. And they should have put a Bigfoot, thing that happened in Forrest Gump because it's that kind of success level. Like instead of the Nike swoosh, just put a Sasquatch running, and then you have like boom, fastest shoes around. And so best fudge around, Bigfoot Fudge. There's a Bigfoot Beverages right down
Hmm.
the street, actually on I-5.
High five. Drive by
I-5,
it every
yeah.
time. Yeah.
And so yeah, I think it goes to show how smart Johnny is.
So yeah, so in talking about diversity in interviews and the Bigfoot community, let's talk about Kevin Makeley's interview.
Okay. Well, like I said, I was not told that there was going to be a Kevin Makeley interview until about 45 minutes ago, aka John Hamm, and I watched about half of it, but we should tell people that he was in a show that I think people ever would recognize the poster called Big Legend, which is kind of loosely based upon what happened to this uh, actor, Kevin Makeley. So
Yeah,
talk
and so
about this.
and I just wanna, because I follow the comments for the most part on the posts and stuff, and someone made a comment like, I think it's kind of off brand for you guys to. It's like you're promoting a film where Bigfoot's like a horror film where Bigfoot's
Oh,
portrayed this way, but I'm like, well, one,
haters.
it's it's fiction. This isn't like based on a true story, inspired
Mm,
by actual experiences and events. But I mean, it's a fiction piece. It's fun. And Brett and I come from our backgrounds in independent filmmaking. And anyone who's an artist who works in
mm,
film and theater, stand up, visual arts, whatnot, you need to support your friends and what they're doing. And we had known Kevin for a while. Todd Robinson, who plays Eli in the movie, we go way back. As a matter of fact, Brett was the very first person who put him on camera back in the '90s for a snowboarding extreme sports alternative music show he used to direct. So it's like we want to support people, our friends. It's not
mm,
easy, going out and doing all this stuff. So and at the end of the day, he had this encounter.
mm.
And the way I see it is, regardless if he was an actor in this movie and produced this movie or not, or if he was a civil engineer or managed a Banana Republic or Gap, you know, it's still a valid experience, And Brett and I were talking about this on the way back from Benihana. Uh, Big Bigfoot does not discriminate. He did When it comes to a sighting, he doesn't care if you are a card carrying SAG actor or a union plumber, or you know what I mean, or just your average student on spring break who goes for a hike and has a sighting. Um, so I thought it was pretty cool, and the fact that what I liked about his story was it's not just that he had the encounter, and he is trying to like so many people do. They try
Hmm.
to validate and justify. Well, it couldn't have been a bear. It couldn't have been this. How did that happen?
Hmm.
Just you go through that checklist. But also, while they were shooting the movie, some weird stuff was happening too.
I didn't get to that
You
part.
didn't get to that. Okay, then I'll
Hmm.
no
Yeah, I want
spoil.
to see that part. We were getting there. Well, you got the impression that Kevin is, he's a good communicator, and I think that he felt really comfortable where he was. He talks about how he positioned himself with his friends and what transpired and how shocking it was that they got outmaneuvered and outplayed. And there was some situations with the other people in the group while they were there in this remote area, that was shocking to him. Like, what do we do now? This person's kind of like incapacitated for whatever reason. And as someone who's had to deal with that before, and there's people here in the chat as well, it really turns into a situation where um, you don't really know how to respond to the human emotion that's happening around you when the phenomena is so big and it's so wild. And you got that impression. He does kind of like an impersonation of what's happening around them as far as the activity is concerned. So I saw him relive it, like, gosh, I was waiting for like a Doug Beecham session to unravel, and before I knew it, there's Kevin, standing underneath the waving clock watch from Doug Meacham.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very cool. I can't wait to see the rest of it. But yeah, getting to your second point, oftentimes, people want to talk about this phenomena and they don't really know how to package the emotional context of how subtle some of these experiences are for a lot of witnesses. And so in a way, I kind of understand a little bit of the frustration from the audience as far as like being able to point to those subtleties. But what I will say about that is that those kind of subtleties that we talk about and I kind of focus in on in the Al Moon Lab, those subtleties come later. Like your initial contact is kind of most of the time like a Las Vegas kind of boom in your face. And so I can understand how he derived to the premise of this of the show Big Legend and the plot. Um, and real quick, the plot of Big Legend is that his character is basically going back in the woods to find out what happened to his girlfriend, and we'll leave it at that, right?
Hmm.
Okay. Dun dun dun. Big Legend. But it's an awesome poster. I haven't seen the show yet, but it's one of the coolest uh, images of Sasquatch standing in the background there of the two characters.
Speaking of posters, and I'm kind of talking out loud because I'm not sure how to do this. He autographed some posters for us, and we want
Ooh.
to do a giveaway.
Boom.
We have a couple posters to give away. I don't know,
Oh,
how do we
Bigfoot
do that?
trivia.
How do we
Bigfoot
do that?
trivia. Bigfoot
Well,
trivia coming up next week,
next
maybe.
week. Okay, so if you're interested in a Kevin Makeley autographed Big
Yeah.
Legend poster, tune in next week. We'll do some paranormal, Bigfoot, cryptid, UFO trivia.
Yes. Get your questions ready there, Brett, Jill, and Mike, and everybody else. In fact, you could even submit questions if you want to us. So Thursday is the 4th of July,
Oh,
FYI. We're
okay.
probably not going to be around on the 4th of July because it's literally like a Gettysburg situation in Washington with the fireworks. So um, we'll talk about that
Okay.
offline. Thursday, the 4th, is also the deadline. We'll talk about this towards the end of the show for Olympic Strange Days and the treasure hunt. But we'll talk about that towards the end.
Yes.
Okay. But go ahead. You're going to say something?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I'm just, I don't know. It was a really cool day because that was the same day we had Jim Myers from Sasquatch Outpost happened to be, passing through town. We were able to connect with him, so he was there at Kevin's interview for a little bit. It was just like this weird like cornucopia of Bigfoot,
Oh,
get
yeah.
together. So it was a fun trip. Never
Mm,
a dull moment in
mm-mm.
North Hollywood. So
Um, I wanted to mention here too, and maybe we could talk about this more in the future, but there is stuff that's going to be happening down in Oregon coming this fall as well, right? Should we tease that out a little bit? Something in October?
let's go through the whole list.
Okay.
Let's work our way down. So I know this weekend Brett and I are going to be at Beachfoot.
Boom.
So we leave tomorrow for that, and I'm actually going to be there. It's my birthday weekend, so I'm actually going to have a Bigfoot birthday.
Now, okay. Now, for people that don't know, there's a couple of new people on here. Is Beachfoot a place where you go to get your feet exfoliated? What happens at Beachfoot for the
It
people that don't
is
know?
it's a private gathering for researchers and experiencers that was founded and organized by Todd Neese,
Uh-huh.
he's featured in our first documentary. He had his sighting back in the 90s at Saddle Mountain while they were doing like explosive detonation.
Yeah.
After the detonation, there were three of them kind of observing and kind of rocking back and forth, surveying the scene. So there's kind of like lectures and classes, and it's more, I think, camaraderie and fellowship. I guess you could
Hmm.
say a Bigfoot fellowship. So we'll be doing that. We'll be screening the first movie there, and we're actually camping. Now, here's something I want to put this out to everyone. So we're going to be camping there a couple nights. We are not good campers. What camping hacks or tips can people share with us, other than bring mosquito repellent? I think. and it gets cold at night. The last time we went camping was with Thomas and Joanne Potter and Robert Lederman at Bluff Creek, and it was in June. And so when they said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna camp at Bluff Creek, and we'll hike down to where Patty was sighted," I envisioned like, "Oh, we're gonna be it's June in California. There's gonna be a field. Maybe I'll bring a frisbee. It's gonna be
Yeah,
hot
good time.
summer weather." My
Yeah.
God, it was awful. Like I've never experienced cold like hypothermia. I was like, this is what the Donner Party experienced. This maybe not that extreme, but close. Like I had
Right
on
now.
like 4 layers of
Yeah.
clothes
Yeah.
and like a sleeping bag. And I was just like, I was so sore because I was like flexed. I was just trying to keep my core warm. And we were parking in like we were camping in a parking lot, kind of like a gravel, pull out at the top of
Okay.
where we're like off the forest road.
Okay.
So I was just like, I hurt. This is not comfy. It was just, but there was activity going on around us during the night. So that was a little
No, that was
unnerving.
probably just Brett's teeth chattering. It wasn't wood knocking. It was
No, like, hey, Thomas got some really impressive recordings.
yeah.
And when we hiked down to Brett needs to cut together this video because we have a whole Bluff Creek thing that we
Oh, you
filmed.
do?
Yeah, we're just behind. Uh,
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool to know.
Brett had a really super sensitive trail cam. He can talk about the specs in the chat. I basically very sensitive, but he put an apple in front of it, and you could see everyone leaving to go down to the main trail to hike in, and it sat there, and then it disappeared, and there was like nothing. If a deer came along, you'd see the deer come in and it'd push it around. A bird, you'd see it
Oh,
come in. It just,
it just popped out of existence.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like when we came back and saw the apple missing, we were so excited. We're like, yay! Nothing.
I
Brett's
never
like,
heard
how
that
can this
story.
be? He's scrolling through the footage. How can this be?
That's
So
a good impression. Yeah, I've never been to Bluff Creek, and a lot of people haven't, Jill. That's actually a really big deal, especially if you got kind of a tour of the area and stayed the night there. That's a real mecca. There's a couple of meccas that you all have made that a lot of Bigfooters, seasoned Bigfooters, haven't done yet. So you guys are in it to win it. I still need to make it down there. So, but would you do it again, and what would you do different as far as the camping situation besides make reservations? At the Hampton Inn, what
at
else
a
would you do different?
Marriott, no.
Yeah.
So I appreciate having a good foam cushion,
Yes.
a good cushioning, extra warmth, like prepare for like you're going to Everest type sleeping bag, like just assume it's going to be cold. Um yeah, coffee's important.
Hmm. Coffee is important.
I'm
Like
gonna be just like chewing coffee grinds and drinking water from a stream to wash it down. I don't know.
one of
I
the
don't.
suggestions I have is if you can have some creature comfort, obviously your own pillow. If you can have your own pillow, like your special little cozy whatever, and go for layered effects, right? Like you
Mhm.
can't go wrong with the hoodie and the beanie attire. And if you can throw in a jackery or any kind of like big lithium ion something to hone in, what you need to as far as recharging these creature comforts, be it like foot warmers or there's just so many options as far as staying warm. And then of course getting your body off of the ground as much as possible. If you can even go up off the ground like 4 inches. I used to hang my hammock like 2 feet off the forest floor, but all
Oh.
that wind gets underneath you and even in your tent. So the key is to just insulate a little bit and then put your sleeping pad and whatnot. And I always go with the cot if I have to sleep in a tent, just a little $40 Walmart situation, and you're tiny enough to get away with a tiny cot. and then you have that breakaway and you're elevated, and it's almost like going to camp. You feel like Girl Scout camp kind of situation instead of Donner Party. That's what we
Mm,
want you to go for. We want you to think Girl Scouts instead of Donner Party. Eat the brownies, not the people.
I'm gonna burrow. I'm just gonna
Okay,
like start digging when I get there and like have
right.
my little and hiss at
You
people
got
as
some
they walk by.
campouts coming up. You got another campout coming up here a week from Saturday. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. My our niece and nephew and our nephew-in-law, I got my
Uh huh.
niece's new husband. We're taking them camping. We're taking them up towards you to your
Yeah.
neck of the
So
woods.
we need to talk about this
Yeah.
here because the dates again are just kind of happening around me and the locations are yet to be determined. But I could set you up with some locations. We just need to talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll talk
You know,
about it.
things always seem to fall into place. They work out the way they need to. So I have faith that the universe will
Hmm.
deliver. We'll see.
May want to check on the weather too. Universe might be delivering a real S show here next week. So
Perfect.
take a look at that.
Even better. So yeah, once we get that out of the way, then July 19th, 20th, and 21st, we have Sasquatch Summerfest in Oak Ridge.
Oh yeah, and that is coming up on Oak Ridge Days, Friday, 19th, 20th, and 21st. And I will either be there 2 days early or 2 days after. It'll probably be 2 days after time frame, or maybe even longer. I know I need to stick around for my son's birthday in Eugene, Oregon. But the point is that maybe there'll be some Bigfoot shenanigans going on for nearly 5 days. So we're going to
Perfect.
talk about that.
Yeah. And I should say at Beachfoot and at Oak Ridge, I think we'll have cameras with us. So maybe we can collect some additional interviews if anyone's interested
Oh
for,
yeah.
for the site. But yeah, I just talked to Priscilla the other day. So
Oh, I
just kind
love
of
her.
working out some details. We will be showing both movies. The first one on Friday, the second one on Saturday. So that will be fun. Um, do we
So
have? Oh,
let's mention some of the names showing up. There is researcher Christy Sanders,
mhm.
David Sheely of the Skunk Ape situation. So I guess he's coming in from Florida.
Yeah, he was
Um,
just at Medellin Falls too, so he's coming back.
okay, he's gallivanting. Todd Neese is going to be flown out there too again. Um, Todd Neese of Beachfoot, Cliff Barrickman of the Finding Bigfoot show. Everybody remembers Cliff. Doug Meacham, hypnotherapist from A Flash of Beauty. He'll be out there. And Doug actually does have a stage act. If you haven't seen Doug Meacham, go type it. Doug Meacham, Meachm, hypnotist, and look at his stage act because he actually can turn people into chickens. And he may well do something like that to Jill and turn you into like
A
I don't
Bigfoot.
a boll weevil or something like that. I don't know. We'll talk to him about it. Also, Jason Kinsey will be out there, producer, writer, director, doing his thing out there with a camera, making stuff happen in the industry. Gwendolyn Guthrie is a witness and researcher, I believe, out of like Ohio area. She's had a lot of crazy stuff happen. Dr. Robert Alley and Chad. I haven't heard of Chad. Chad Datima.
I think he
So I got
works
to
with
meet Chad.
Jason. He and Jason
Okay.
work together. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. That's a 3-day pass. You can go get your tickets at Sasquatch Summerfest, and Oak Ridge is the real deal. It's like a real Twin Peaks situation. I think at one time they actually had a one-armed mayor. And so if you haven't been to Oak Ridge, I'll take you on the T-Dog tour.
So let's see here. Then rolling into August,
Hmm.
I'm not ready to announce all the details, but we're going to be doing some filming, some special filming for an upcoming project. Let's roll into gosh, September. September could be interesting. There's a lot of things in flux. I'm just trying to be very fluid and go with the flow.
Real quick here, I don't want to mention too much about, I won't say anything about August. But what I do want to say is that Erin's very familiar with what we're going to do. And she said we need to have cowboy boots or some version of it due to safety. So I never really thought I'd own a pair of cowboy boots. Hey, you know, I feel like, I'm going to be 50 this year. I might as well just kind of slide into like my later Neil Diamond years and just start wearing, like pseudo swanky.
Fringes. You need to wear
Yes,
like a fringed cowboy shirt.
snap
Like,
away shirts, lamb
yes.
chops, and cowboy boots. So anyway, we'll talk more about that later.
Okay.
But go ahead.
Let's see here. But then we got to talk about 4th of July. There's some clues dropping about what's happening at the end of September, correct? Isn't
Oh,
something
all the
happening?
clues drop if they go to olympicstrangedays.com, all one word, Olympic, just like special, olympicstrangedays.com, and go to the Treasure Hunt 2024. I'm dropping videos, and these videos are going to help you find your way to something really crazy. Now, this is a high adventure. You're not going to check out like Hobby Lobby and then gonna look underneath a brick in the back alley for like a some. No, you're not doing that. I'm sending you a little bit of Northwestern history, and we're building a story from stage one. And you better put on your big girl pants for stage two because that is a cautionary tale. And you may not be up to the challenge for stage two, but Olympic Strange Days isn't for everybody. And so there's a reason for the challenge, right? And so you can check out these videos. They're going to be dropping bit by bit. And then before you know it, on July 4th will be the entire thing. Now, has the scavenger hunt got out of control a little bit on my end? Yeah, probably. If that's just the way I am. I hope you have fun with it. I was just out at all the locations, and let me tell you this, these are paranormal hotspots. Like I get goosebumps thinking about where you're going to be in part two. And by the time you get to the third location, if you make it there, if you can decode the pig pin, and this again, I'm going to mention this for the second time, pig pin. You're going to have to figure out what that means and why it's important. Uh, you've got the internet, you've got the whole Library of Alexandria on your computer. Go check out Pigpen, figure out how it's going to help you for a treasure hunt, figuring out riddles. And but by the time you get to the third one, you're going to be in some Sasquatch shit. I mean, there's going to be stuff going on in and around that area that we have verified. So have fun. I hope somebody wins, and that's it. But I did want to. We have some time here. Did you have anything left yet,
Yes.
Jill? Okay, go ahead.
A couple things, but I want everyone. I think I don't know if we can make the official announcement of what's going on, but I'm going to say, what are those dates in October? We need you guys. We are working on putting something together in October. That's going to be really cool.
Oh yeah. So the dates that we came up with yesterday, right, are
Yeah,
the 18th and 19th of
18th
October.
of October, that weekend. Come out to Baker City. Plan on coming out to Baker City, Oregon that weekend.
Mm.
We got something in the works, and it'll be a lot of fun. So,
Yeah, there's a bit of history in Baker City, Oregon. I've never been to it. Again, it's below a very Bigfooty spot. Um, and so if you want to do a little bit of something with some paranormal opportunities and some Sasquatch opportunities, you can make it a whole um,
the whole
scary,
thing.
fun adventure.
Yeah, 'tis the season. So I just want to touch on a couple other things. I'm sure I'll think of a third thing when I get done with these two. I just got in the mail today something that I want to tell you guys about. It is from Christopher Jordan of Curious Research. It is a field observation and encounter log. He's put together. This is really good. For people who are out in the field doing research, it's almost like it's kind of training you to get in the habit of documenting pertinent information, like your GPS coordinates of where your event took place, weather conditions, just all the details and observation stuff. Very cool. Definitely check it out. It's on Amazon. I will be using this. It looks so. I'm one of those people, like, I get notebooks and stuff and I get things like this, but then I'm afraid I'm going to ruin them by writing in them. But I'm going to be filling this up. Yeah. So I wanted to share that with everyone.
Yeah, that looks weighty. It looks like a book of significance.
They say it takes 30 days to rewire your brain and train yourself in new patterns. And there's got to be at least, like, I don't know, 60 days, like a couple of months. So it's training you every time you go out. Like, take
Right.
note of these things. Scientific method. So
Right.
this is it. It's on Amazon. Find
Nice.
Curious Realm on Facebook. And the other thing, and we were talking a little bit about this. This is like the promo show. Before we went live, so we've talked about our associate producer on both these documentaries. She's over here cracking up.
She's like, no.
Cassandra, our resident skeptic who kind of keeps us grounded sometimes, she's the one when we've talked about. She's dying over here. When we've talked about being at the Owl Moon Lab out in the woods, she's the one whose hair started standing up, and she's just like, "What the elf is going on?" It's crazy. So she is going to be running a promo for us. It's kind of like a little, like, partnership. So Cassandra has an eco-friendly reusable candle system that she created.
Oh, what's the name of that
It's
candle system?
Atmosphere. It's
Oh, I like it.
Atmosphere. Are you on the chat? Are
She
you
is.
okay?
She's
Jump
under
in there and let
Cassandra.
people know who you are. But it's really cool. It's like these. Basically, it's these, like, these fancy little candle holders, and I'm doing an awful job talking about our product, but it's the wax burns all the way through, and you can buy refills and stuff, so you're not filling landfills with glass. Basically, it's very environmentally safe and friendly, and
Hmm.
they smell good. But she's gonna do a discount for people who buy through her website. If you use,
Yeah.
what's the code? Bigfoot. If go to atmosfood.com when you order, uh, use the code word Bigfoot in the
Hmm.
sale. What do they get? 25% off. 25% off.
Whoa, that's more than 10. That's more than 15. That's 25, Jill.
The refills are sent in biodegradable containers. Do you want to come tell everyone?
Boom.
She's like, no, I don't. So the refills is all biodegradable, like earth-friendly containers. She's very environmentally conscious. She's put a lot of thought into this, down to the packaging and where she's sourcing things from and whatnot. So do it for the
and
Bigfoots. Do it for the
and one of the
Bigfoots.
cooler things too is that when people have a candle that they really love, not only do they like the smell, but they like the holder that it's in, and they want to
Hmm.
keep said holder, and
Yeah,
so they can just replace the contents with the
yeah.
smell they love. And I look forward to smelling Cassandra's atmospheric candles and maybe mentioning them in the
No.
future.
And there's no cleaning. It's
No muss, no fuss.
no, it's crazy. That's a story for another day. Like, this was all spawned through,
Hmm.
like, how we started doing Bigfoot documentaries during the pandemic. She launched this environmentally sustainable candle company during the pandemic. So,
We might be able to take those to Baker City and have some ladies do something with them.
yeah.
Bum
Oh,
bum bum.
okay.
You see where I'm
Again,
going?
yeah, I see where you're going. We'll talk
Okay.
about yes. You guys,
Okay.
Baker City, mark your calendars. Trying to think. Okay, so we'll figure out next week. We have those posters we need to give away. We'll do a trivia thing. We gotta work around the 4th of July. And I know Brett has a bunch of interviews he wants to cut and get posted. We're just so inundated trying to get everything
Mm.
else done. Um,
Yeah, and I want to make sure there's some people that are on the chat here and who've contacted me in the last 2 weeks, and I haven't reached back to you guys. You've called me, you've emailed me, you've messaged me, and I've just been slacking in that department. So there's about 5 people right now, including Ira Wolfnison, who I have not gotten back to,
oh, I
and
talked to
I,
her.
I
We actually talked to her the other day. Sorry.
okay, good.
Yeah, just
I just didn't want her to feel ignored, but,
no, no.
anyway, it's just been really it's just that time of year, like, I knew it was gonna happen, and then once the beginning of June hit, it was just like, "Oh, here it is all at once," like that movie. And, "Origato."
Yes, yes. Yeah, I'm sorry, and I admit, like, you guys literally, I was texting Tobe from Benihana saying, "Look, the chat might like people might have to wait a second.
Yeah.
We're trying to get out of here." Blah. So I'm like jacked up on MSG
Yeah, oh, that's a good jacking right there.
and hibachi.
Uh.
So I'm a little bit frazzled, but I'm
I did
excited.
get
There's a
a
lot of cool stuff happening.
I got an email I want to mention real quick. I can't mention who it was. It was actually a message. One of the messages here I'm talking about somebody who touched a Bigfoot hair in the last week. You heard a little bit about this, Jill?
They messaged me. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right,
Yeah.
so we both got that. So all I really want to say about this, because I don't want to give away their story. It's their story to tell. But whatever you're doing in this community, just make sure that you know that it's real. Um, don't take my word for it, but before you go too far with touching physical evidence, make sure that you really know that this supernatural thing is really happening, because there's consequences to it. One of the things that is happening here behind closed doors is that big colleges, tech colleges included, big names in the UFO community are looking at VA claims through the VA for enlisted and officers, including pilots, that have been injured in proximity to craft. And the
Oh,
claims are actually going through and checks are being cut. So
interesting.
whatever's going on right now, it's not radiation. That much they're kind of sure of, but it's radiation like. So maybe put in the ball of wax like a paranormal link to something related to radiation or something like that, like a psychic radiation perhaps.
And you know
But
what?
there's injuries happening in regards to this phenomena. And
And
some people, it may anger some of the people on here, but it's absolutely happening. And the VA claims you can go read up on yourself.
I'm thinking, how can I claim that on like I
Right,
contact my insurance for Providence.
right.
I'm having back problems from
I saw a light.
touching
Yeah.
biologicals.
My backside hurts. I just saw a light. Not you again.
um, but hey, I was gonna say, if you've been following Ira's her podcast,
Yeah, pit bulls
um,
of the Lord.
yeah, she touches on this stuff, and even though she's taking it in a different direction, and her story is so unique, and
Mhm.
it's an amazing story. But she talks about, just like in the one that posted yesterday, she's like, this stuff is real. The supernatural is real, and it's
Mm,
happening, and you can, you need to know what you're dealing with. Now, to what extent you want to know what you're dealing with, I guess, and to what
mhm,
level you're interacting with, that's a whole other story. But it's happening. Oh, you know what she talked about also? A couple episodes ago, she was talking about a port, like basically,
yeah,
I'll send you the clip of the link, but she's talking about aports, and she's talking about like the white residue, the what
yeah.
does Doug
Albert
Hychak
Vernon's.
call it? Yeah.
Al- yeah.
she was like, yeah, she's like, that's an A port as well, because, and she's talking about like the like ectoplasm and whatnot and stuff. And I just thought that was interesting,
Mm.
like in terms of because people talk about aports with Bigfoot.
Yeah, Dan Aykroyd mentioned it on Johnny Carson like in 1983, and he called it like spirit residue. They didn't know what else to call it, but it's the same stuff. It's the same byproduct of ectoplasm or spirit residue, this white, chalky, oily substance. Oftentimes, it's just kind of like an oily, almost like baby oil or anointing oil, really, is what it reminds me of, like a mineral oil. Like if you get anointed, like at a church or something like that. That's when I saw it, that's what it kind of reminded me of. So, um, like I said, this stuff is real. Sasquatch is messed up in it. They may very well just be it. So, you know, this is all fun and games. We're cracking wise, but when the lights go down, you don't want to end up like Kevin Mackley,
Yeah.
puckered up in a corner somewhere.
Awesome. Well, do we have anything to sign off with? Anything? Cool. I feel so out of it because we missed
Mhm.
last week's podcast. Do we have like an official sign off? How do we do this?
Do we need it? Maybe we should take a vote, like on three official sign-offs for the podcast. Um, you know, I don't let the good times roll, and I hope everybody orders some fudge. I hope you
Yeah,
have a
you guys,
fudgy night.
everyone. It's not just you ordering fudge. It's telling two friends to order fudge who tell two friends.
Oh,
Like
that's
there's a
good.
whole like pyramid scheme of
Right,
fudge.
right. That's right. Yeah.
Ah, good times. Awesome.
Yes.
Well, we'll talk soon. We gotta get this camping stuff figured out. Oh boy.
Okay. Well,
In the
that'll be
wild.
cool because we can talk. Maybe we can release a video or something like that. I don't know if
Yeah.
they're going to be up to that, but we'll talk about it off air. In fact, give me a call here later tonight if you can, and we'll talk about it.
Okay. And I just want to say in closing, everybody, Sunday, June 23rd is my birthday. And I'm asking all of you just to take some time during your day and do a random act of kindness. Do something nice for someone. Pick up some litter, help someone out. Just be good to others.
Buy
Just
him a candle, buy him some fudge, and then order him a movie. Be the best person you can be. Don't be a loser. Do something cool, you jackhound.
I was thinking more just, you know, universal, but okay.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Have some fudge. Okay, everybody, it's been fun. We'll see you soon.
All right. Night.
Okay. See ya. How do I get out of this? Oops. Okay. Enough of me. Goodbye.